Hey guys, TGKS Productions. For this G10 Live video, I'm doing a buying, customization, and review of the Karin Sultan RS Classic. Pretty long name there for a vehicle. And this vehicle is part of the content from Los Santos Tuners DLC. This vehicle will be purchased from Southern San Andreas SuperAutos.com. See it right there. First car coming up, and unfortunately I don't have the trade price for this vehicle as of now. Let's go ahead and read the caption. These captions are always pretty interesting. You might think the Sultan RS Classic is the perfect car for that auntie your parents thought to invite into Christmas, and it turns out that's true because your parents suck and your aunt sneaks out at the weekend to co-run Legendary Rally Championships and stack out her Hornbills loyalty card. Time to take after the wrong side of the family. Okay, so there's a caption. Those are always somewhat interesting. And again, unfortunately, don't have the trade price. They're given out every 5 reputation levels of the LS car meet randomly, so it's just one I haven't happened to get yet. Nonetheless, let's purchase this vehicle. So we just got the Karin Sultan RS Class delivered to our auto shop. This vehicle appears to be based off of the 1998 Subaru Impreza 22B STI. Very long name, just like the in-game name. And we'll take this vehicle outside to get a better look at it, but let's listen to the engine startup of this vehicle and the other Karin Classic vehicle we have in-game. Let's get a better look at the stock version of this vehicle, and as always with these tuner vehicles, you can't apply low grip tires, LS car meet under wheels, and tire enhancements if you want to do that. But right here, the engine is probably the coolest looking or appearing look on this vehicle as far as opening everything up on it. We also have the Karin logo inside the grille here, which is cool because the real life version of this vehicle has a Subaru logo inside the grille, so I like when Rockstar adds those little touches to these vehicles. So that is cool. Everything else is pretty plain here other than that. We'll go ahead and take a look at the interior, also pretty plain. We have the Karin logo inside the steering wheel, as you'll see here, and you know, we've been seeing that a lot with the vehicles lately, with the logo being inside the steering wheel. I'd say a lot of this is pretty similar to the Karin Sultan Classic. We'll take a look at both these vehicles a little bit more later in this video. And then also I'm just showing you pretty much the turn-on lights, the backup lights, the the tail lights. Nothing super special there. I'd say pretty much the same as the Karin Sultan Classic. There's no cool turn-on with the high beams. That's pretty much all we'll take a look at for the first look here. Let's go and check out the customization of the Karin Sultan RS Classic. Let's check out the customization for the Karin Sultan RS Classic. As you see here, it is in the sports car class. I believe all Sultans in this game, the exception of the Sultan RS, is in the sports car class. So essentially the Sultan Classic, the RS Classic, as well as the regular Sultans in the sports car class, and the Sultan RS is in the supercar class. And as always, I'll just sort of commentate here and there through the customization and what I think is interesting. So I won't necessarily talk for the full bit of the customization here, but nonetheless, you know, we'll check it out, commentate through it, see what this car has to offer. So definitely could have expected a lot of engine upgrades with this vehicle. Unfortunately, it doesn't really look anything like the real life version of this vehicle, and sometimes they do to a point. What is cool is though you do have with the cam cover upgrades, you can have exposed vernier pulleys, which is pretty cool. I know the Jester RR I believe had this option also, and I don't have the other. I only have the Euros and the Jester RR. I don't have the other 8 released vehicles from day one, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's even some other vehicles that have that option, but I believe the Jester RR had that option if I remember correctly. And then we have our strut braces here. I still wish there was a way to remove those. Fortunately, if there's a strut brace, it's on there. It's pretty much stock. So yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate here. And then the exhaust is like fairly realistic, the real life vehicle, from what I was able to find, because there's only really like seems to be like one left side exhaust, or at least one exhaust on the back side of the car. So that's cool. We see the headlight covers here. It only covers the headlights, not the tail lights. We also have housing around the headlights here. I wouldn't say this is like super common on a lot of vehicles in GT Online, at least from my experience. Don't quote me on that. But we do have that on this vehicle. We have the hood catches, which obviously is pretty much on all these tuner vehicles in GT Online, as well as a handful of other vehicles. Come up here, the GT hoods, I'd say in my opinion looks fairly similar to the real life version in the hoods on that vehicle. Also a note here, the GT hood and then the GT hood with secondary vents, I didn't see a difference here. I just wasn't catching one. Even when I was making my personal Sultan RS Classic, I still did not catch a difference. So, like I said, not sure if I was just missing one there, but yeah, I didn't see a difference there. What's pretty cool is with the stripped dash interior, for whatever reason, when you're in first person, the vehicle doesn't let you go and look behind you, but I can see a lot of players may miss this. But the back of the vehicle is pretty stripped out. There's even like a NOS kit in between the passenger seat and the driver's seat. I want to say the Vapid Dominator ASP may have had a similar customization to this. I know one of the Drift Feed vehicles had a stripped out interior. May have been the Dominator ASP. Don't quote me on that. Not to say some of the day one vehicles also had this, because again, I only have 2 out of the 10 that released on day one. We also have had some interesting dials here that I haven't seen on the other Drift Feed vehicles, like the race displays and the like MK 2 options here. So, you know, for the dials here, again, not to say they're not on day one vehicles. We also have a carbon door card there, which I think is pretty cool. Don't see that on a ton of the vehicles, at least I know with the Drift Feed ones. So I like that aspect of that with the doors there. We have our 10 unique liveries here for the Karin Sultan RS Classic, and I will say that all these liveries, just about all of them, if not all of them, are actually also on the Karin Sultan Classic. In fact, a lot of the customization in general seems to be similar, if not the same, to Karin Sultan Classic. There are some differences, but I know at least with these liveries, they're almost exactly the same. If not, like I said, if not all of them being exactly the same. So not really too many unique liveries here. If you own the Karin Sultan Classic, pretty much all the liveries that could be applied to that vehicle can also be applied to the RS Classic. And like I said, a lot of the customization is pretty similar because, you know, you're dealing with a very similar car here. This is just pretty much a two-door version of the Sultan Classic. So, you know, you pretty much can expect there to be, you know, a handful of customization options. It'll be very similar, if not the same. But yeah, the liveries are pretty much the same. And also coming up here, we have the Tribal Throwback, which also is a livery on the Sultan Classic. And this vehicle seems to be like a Fast and Furious type of livery. I'm not sure if this really references anything, but pretty cool livery nonetheless. Like I said, very Fast and Furious-esque livery. And again, is also on Sultan Classic, or livery that can be applied to Sultan Classic also. So other respray options. The primary color pretty much covers, say, about 95%, almost the entire exterior of the vehicle, as you can see there. And then we get to our secondary color. The secondary color covers pretty much just the mirrors, as well as in the interior of the vehicle, the embroidering around the passenger and driver's seat. And also, if you happen to add any other secondary customization options to the vehicle, it will also cover that. The trim color covers part of the seats as well as the doors there, which actually seems to match the interior color for the real life version of this vehicle, which I thought was pretty cool. So I like that aspect there with the trim color. Now with the roof accessories here, with the roof spoiler and the shark fin spoiler, what's actually pretty cool is you can have this applied with window spoilers, which this vehicle has, as well as the other the back spoiler. So you can have literally 3 spoilers applied to this vehicle at one time, and I'll show a clip of that when we get to the window spoilers, which is towards the end. But I just thought that was pretty interesting. You can literally have 3 spoilers on this vehicle at one time. The last 2 spoilers, the Karin Extreme spoilers, they remind me a lot of the real life version of this vehicle, so I did think that was pretty cool. This vehicle also does have competition suspension, just like the Karin Classic, which puts this vehicle in a sort of stancing position. This is going to give this vehicle a benefit, or is going to be very beneficial to this vehicle, as we'll see in the review part of the video. Wheels also don't appear to be unique to this vehicle. I don't remember off the top of my head what wheels seem to symbolize or represent, or replicate the ones that are already on this vehicle stock. So I'll end up putting that I'll make a note in the video when I go to edit this. But yeah, don't seem to be super unique to the vehicle. And also right after this here, right after these window spoilers, I will put a clip in showing all 3 spoilers applied, which is pretty interesting. So here's all 3 spoilers applied to the vehicle, and you also get a little bit of a sneak peek of my personal Sultan RS Classic. But I just thought it was pretty interesting that you can apply all 3 spoilers at one time to the vehicle, specifically the window spoiler and the roof spoiler at the same time. And that right there is all of the customization for the Karin Sultan RS Classic in full. So here's my personal Karin Sultan RS Classic. Give you full 360 view. For the respray options, primary color went with metallic blue, pearlescent blue, secondary color metallic blue, trim color racing blue, accent color ice white. Other modification changes that are worth mentioning, and I'll leave all in the description of the video. For the engine block, I went with a polished valve covers, cam cover, black exposed vernier pulleys, polished strut brace, chrome performance exhaust, GT hood with secondary vents. Stated earlier, this seemed to match a little bit more of the real life version of the vehicle. Went with a neon layout front back size, neon color electric blue, Karin Extreme Wing MK2 spoiler. I said that also seemed to represent the real life version of the vehicle a bit. And then wheel type street, wheels organic type 2, wheel color straw brown. I also believe that seemed to match the real life version of the vehicle in a way also. That is my personal Karin Sultan RS Classic. So now on to the final review of the Karin Sultan RS Classic. Take this vehicle down to the LS car, me taking on the test track as we did with all the other defeat vehicles. And this vehicle seems to have a ton of grip, as you probably would expect, especially with the competition suspension. Sort of just zipping down the road here, even with rainy weather. And I'll also do a little bit of a comparison between the Karin Sultan Classic and then the Karin Sultan Classic, or Karin Sultan RS Classic, which is this vehicle at the end of this video. let's take this vehicle on the test track real quick. Take it for a test ride. As done with the other drifty vehicles in this update, we can take it on the test track here. And really what I'm doing, I'm entering in a time trial. I'm just trying to get an idea of the best lap time that it can set. And really when you're looking at vehicles GT Line as far as like competitive performance is concerned, you're looking at lap time and top speed. And a lot of car enthusiasts in the community were expecting this vehicle to possibly have the best new lap time in the tuners class. And this vehicle definitely did not disappoint because it is now the best vehicle for lap time in the tuners class. It has beaten out the Emperor Vector. In fact, I was able to beat my best lap time in this test track, which was originally set by the Emperor Vector, and also according to Bruffy1322 with his test, and I'll link his videos at the end of this one. He has also stated that this is the best with lap time tuners class according to his tests, and I believe also according to him, he ranked this as far as lap time in the sports car class as number like 11 or 12. In fact, he stated the Karen Sultan Classic is still a slightly faster as far as lap time is concerned than the Karen Sultan Classic, or the Karen Sultan RS Classic. So that's something interesting there. The other thing that a lot of players are interested in is top speed. And according to him, he also ranked this vehicle at number 8 as far as top speed is concerned, which is interesting because the Emperor Vector, which is number 2 in the tuners class as far as lap time, has the worst top speed. And this has the best lap time as well as even a better top speed. So that's definitely something to take into consideration when you go into these tuner races. And I believe as far as top speed is concerned in the sports car class, he ranked at number 51. So definitely no advantages there in the sports car class as far as top speed is concerned. And what they want to make note of with this vehicle is because it's ranked considerably higher in top speed than the Vector, which is number 2 for lap time, when you're taking turns with this vehicle, and obviously, when you want to utilize those turns, with the lap time, I just want to say, I feel you have to compensate a little bit more going into the turns. I noticed this in a couple of races that I took this into, and even just on the test track, that because I think this vehicle just is able to pick up more on like a straightaway, you just have to be a little bit more careful going into turns. I believe even Bruffy1322 mentioned that he say that the Vector has a little bit of a better grip when going into turns, but obviously this vehicle would also, because it has the best lap time. But I just think when you're initially going into the turn, especially on like a longer straightaway, you just have to be careful, because obviously if you can't just sort of ease into a turn like you would with the Vector, so to say. I think that ease into turns a little bit more nicely than this vehicle. And again, I think it just really comes down to the top speed. But that's really just something I'd want to make note of with this vehicle. Finish up this video, let's do a comparison of the Sultan Classic and the Sultan RS Classic. Now, the Sultan Classic seems to be based off of the Subaru Impreza WRX Type RA, I believe an STI version of that. But as you can see, first off, we'll just compare the appearances of the two vehicles, and the appearances are almost completely identical. Most noticeable difference is that the Sultan Classic is a 4-door vehicle and the Sultan RS Classic is a 2-door vehicle. Everything else on both vehicles pretty much completely identical. Even the customization options are completely identical as well. Most notable differences that I was able to pick out was the Sultan Classic had a dual exhaust option, and then there's also no trim color on the Sultan Classic where there is on the Sultan RS Classic. Also, I noticed that the crew emblem is a lot bigger on the Sultan Classic than it is on the Sultan RS Classic. Other than that, though, like I said, the customization, there are a couple other differences, but mostly identical from there. So now let's look at the prices as well as the stats for both of these vehicles. Now, both the trade price and the regular price for the Sultan RS Classic is a little under $100,000 more expensive than both the trade price and the regular price for the Sultan Classic. And if we look at the stats here, the speed for both vehicles is just about the same. There actually seems to be a slight speed increase for the Sultan Classic, which is weird. which we'll talk about. The acceleration is better on the Sultan RS Classic. The braking is better on the Sultan Classic, and the traction is pretty much the same for both vehicles. Now going back to Broughy 1322, pretty much the ultimate tester of GT Online cars, he actually ranked the Sultan Classic number 50 in the sports class. What's interesting is that he stated that the Sultan Classic topped out around 116.5 miles per hour, and when he tested the Sultan RS Classic, it pretty much topped out at 117.5 miles per hour. So it's actually technically according to him, 1 mile per hour quicker than the Sultan Classic. Therefore, the Sultan RS Classic should be quicker than the Sultan Classic, which is a little odd since on the stats there, the Sultan Classic seems to be like slightly quicker. The Sultan RS Classic can't always go by those stats, but according to Broughy 1322, the Sultan RS Classic should be a little bit quicker. However, he also stated that the lap time for the Sultan Classic was slightly better than the Sultan RS Classic. So both vehicles sort of have their own perks. However, personally, if you were to choose between the two, I would recommend getting the Sultan RS Classic just because, at least in the tuners class, you're going to have a competitive chance considering its lap time and its average top speed. Whereas, you know, the Sultan Classic can only be used in the sports class. Its top speed isn't that great, and the lap time, even though it's in the top 10, there's still going to be a handful of other vehicles with a higher top speed and better lap time that will beat it out. But in any case, guys, that's pretty much everything I have to present to you in this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it extremely beneficial. Please remember to like, subscribe, share this video. Be sure to comment if you have any questions, and have a great day.